Good morning, day 24. Well, I actually slept pretty well in the shelter again last night. I got the last spot when I pulled in at about 6:45. Everyone was really nice and scrunched over and made room for me. Slept in a little bit this morning because when my alarm went off at 4:30, I could hear rain on the tin roof, and that kind of just deterred me. And then several people started moving around at 6 o'clock, so I immediately got up and started doing the same thing. I think I was the third one out of the shelter this morning. When I went out to retrieve my bear bag, I almost slipped on a couple places, a couple rocks, because everything is iced over. It's like sleet or freezing rain. And there's a little bit of wind. So I'm donning all of my clothing again today. My feet are not too cold. I also have my Microspikes on again. I thought I would be done with them at this point, but not the case. My hands are cold. So I got my gloves on inside of my rain mitts. I'm gonna try and start holding them inside my rain poncho and see if that helps. The next shelter is 5 miles away. That's not far enough for today, so I'm gonna go to the second shelter, which is about 13 something. The third shelter is 20 miles, and I think I learned that I gotta do less instead of more on these rainy days. So hopefully it gets a little bit brighter and warmer so that I can at least take the Microspikes off. But otherwise we're okay. We're ready to go. See, all of this is ice on these rocks. Up ahead we've got Andrew. He is demonstrating another way to stay dry in the rain. He is using an umbrella, which is affixed to his shoulder strap, and that works for him. So I've been keeping my arms and hands underneath my poncho, and that's been working out really well. They're nice and warm and toasty now. My toes are only just a tiny bit chilly, and my head actually was getting pretty hot. I had several hoods over my head, so I had to take those off. We're doing good. I'm very happy. I think I'm getting my rain system down and established, and going through that cold weather really gave me a lot of confidence that I can do this in crummy weather like today. Tomorrow's gonna be 67. Just gotta make it through today. Taking a quick break here. My poncho shifted a little bit, and so I had to stop and fix it. I had a snack. It made me remember that someone was asking what kind of headlamp I use. So it's a night core. I don't remember the model number, but it's the latest version, and it takes a USB outlet or plug instead of a micro USB, which I really like. That way I don't have to carry more cords. So it's the latest night core to whoever was asking about my headlamp. Comes on this bungee type thing that you put around your neck, so it's super light. It's one of the lightest ones on the market. So I've decided to take an early lunch. It's 10:30. My stomach's growling. And this is Corner Shelter. Just passed a gentleman who just left. He says there's a fire going inside. Oh yes! Ice Queen Piper! Hi! Hey, Catherine. Say Pipe. Piper! Piper doesn't like the rain. Huh, Pipe? Oh, good girl. Yes. Girl. You're a good girl, Piper. Just hang in there. Tomorrow's gonna be 67. Yeah. This is gonna get me the 7.7 to the next shelter. That's all I have to do. Okay. So I left the last shelter at about 11:37-ish. It's about 12:30 now. And it's getting brighter outside. The rain is starting to taper off. There's some wind gusts, but they're not really affecting too much. The ice glaze has finally gone away, and so I was able to take my Microspikes off. My feet are pretty cold, almost frozen. Hands are wet, gloves and mittens are wet, but they're doing pretty good. I was climbing and now I'm going to be going downhill, so that might change. But we're moving along. We have about between 6.5 and 7 miles to go to the next shelter, and that'll be all that we have to do today. It is really busy in here. Like I said, I got the last spot in the shelter last night. So I'm hoping I can get one in this shelter because it's going to rain again tonight. But tomorrow's going to be a glorious 67 degrees. Everybody out here is super excited about that, myself included. But yeah, I'm kind of proud of myself. This is my nemesis, this weather. And I feel like I've kind of got my head around it. It's one of those instances where fear kind of takes over and you sort of panic when your hands start to get cold and you lose dexterity. And I've just been trying to keep my shit together, stay calm, and I'm doing good. I'm really, really happy with how I've been handling my least favorite of weather conditions. So I'm gonna just keep plodding on to the next shelter. Gonna try and get a little more of my history out for you. I think I last mentioned that I lived in Houston for 3.5 years and started recreationally running there. 3 miles was pretty much my amount. Occasionally I would go up to 6, but I don't think I ever went over 6 miles. So after my little stint in Houston, I moved back to Western Massachusetts, and in my late 20s, I did my first marathon. That was a pretty good experience, but I kind of took a little break off from running after that. Maybe a couple years. I ran, but I went back to just recreationally running 3-6 miles. And then at some point I started doing these cross-country races out of Northampton, Massachusetts, at the state hospital, if anyone's familiar with that. And I belonged to a runners group out of Northampton that did these cross-country races. And every year they had a lottery to win a spot in the Boston Marathon. And I half-heartedly entered my name in, and it got pulled. That turned out to be a miserable experience. I ended up getting sick halfway through the race, got a cold, sore throat, fever, chills, all that. And during that marathon, I just remember taking off my camelback water bladder and leaning it up against a telephone pole because I just couldn't carry anything any longer. And it took me over 5 hours to complete the thing. And I kind of pretty much swore off marathons after that. But, you know how it goes. It didn't take very long for me to start thinking about running again. And I really liked the taste of the cross-country running on trails. And right about that same time, I started doing backpacking trips with a great group of people. And we would go up to the White Mountains for weekend hikes. And then they were telling me about how they would go out west once a year and do a week-long or 5-day backpacking trip. So as I moved into my 30s, I was starting to dabble into more trail running and starting to do longer distances in trail running. There was a great series that Western Mass trail runners groups had going on called the Grand Tree Trail Series, and they had a race almost every weekend. It would be anything from 3 to 5 miles all the way up to a marathon distance. And I had met another friend at a local health club, and we started doing a lot of these races together. And the more I did, the more I started thinking maybe I want to try something beyond marathon distance. I had done a few other road marathons during this time frame as well. And also during this time frame, I was going out west with my group of friends once a year to do a 5-day backpack. And we would kind of go back and forth between going to Colorado and climbing 14ers as part of our backpacking trip, or going to Wyoming, the Wind River Range, and then we also went to Canada in the Banff area. And that was over, well over 10 years of doing that. The group kind of started to fizzle out after about 10 or 12 years. Looks like we've got a little bit of a blowdown in an old burn area. So we've got to do some more scrambling here. Got a couple options. I think I'm gonna take this way. So this is the site of an old helicopter landing pad. You can see the storm's starting to break up. We're getting some views. Still raining and windy. There's also a plane crash site coming up. We'll see if we can find any pieces. So here's one piece of the plane crash. I found the plane crash site. It was an Air Force RF-4C, and it was going at 450 miles per hour when it crashed into the mountain, and debris is scattered over 20 acres. That's how great the force was. I actually was able to see it because the aluminum, or whatever this metal is actually starting to sparkle in the sunshine. They never determined the cause of the crash, and obviously there were no survivors. Don't know if you've noticed, but the Conifer Forest has started to fall away. We're also dropping in elevation, getting close to the exit from the Smokies. That'll happen tomorrow. 10 miles tomorrow of the Smokies will be left. But yeah, the evergreens are disappearing. Back to lots of rhododendron bushes. On the Cosby knob shelter, somebody's already got a nice fire going. We'll be there any minute. The sun's been playing peekaboo for the last couple of hours. Right now, it's hiding. But I have actually gotten pretty darn dry in the last couple hours. Only thing that's gonna be really wet are my gloves, my rain poncho, and my rain mitts. So it's 3:30 and I'm arriving at Cosby Knob Shelter. Hello.
Hello. Oh, you went down the back. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How's everybody?
Come on in. I know that
Right.
for sure.